This episode of the Lost Beat 6 podcast is brought to you by New Amsterdam, winner of Wine Enthusiast 2015 Wine Star Award for Spirit of the Year. New Amsterdam, it's your town.
In this town, you're the boss. You go out late, stay out late. You don't compromise. You're the one who goes hard, stays hard. Yeah, you're not afraid to get a little dirty. In fact, you embrace it. Because in the end, it don't matter where you came from or even where you are, but that you've made an entrance. When the scene gets dry, you make it wet. Yeah, that's right, buddy. When life hands you lemons, you throw them into your favorite cocktail. You don't attend the party, you are the party. At New Amsterdam, we know it's the little moments in life that can make a difference. So whether your next moment is a blast at the club, the craziest party scene, or just a get-together with your closest comrades, New Amsterdam, it's your town.
According to the Surgeon General, women should not drink alcoholic beverages during pregnancy because of the risk of birth defects. Consumption of alcoholic beverages impairs your ability to drive a car or operate machinery and cause health problems. Exercise your right to party. Please drink responsibly.
I neither condone or abide by this fucking recording session happening in my kitchen.
Psychedelic Space Beef Band, god damn it.
She's hungry for Mongolia barbecue and dick.
Basically what's going to happen is every week we're going to offer to suck Mark out.
Steven, do you realize how bad of an idea this was? This is an idiotic. So it's in our episode. Yeah, exactly. How Backstreet Boys. Like, what are you doing? Do you know what you're doing?
Shit, we got a beaver over here.
Like, as a friend, come on, guys. An incredibly poor decision and literally betrays everything that the Beef Sesh is about.
You gotta think about it that way. Like when you've done enough podcasts, you probably get bored to a certain point. So you start experimenting with, the production. You start
that's
like
right,
high
Steve,
dynamic range podcasting. Have you heard of that? I want to make that actually where that would make people shit themselves because if
Well, we
they
still
would have
gotta
to turn
get
it up so high. This is the quietest podcast I've ever heard. I almost don't want to listen to it. And then the sound is going to come out.
Yeah, it's like that note in that like shitty like hipster indie band like generic album like halfway through, and like there's just that note that just like my beats like it just destroys your speakers.
You don't
like,
even hear it because it's so loud.
Yeah, the music just cuts out.
That was a good one.
I really hope we can one day create that. So yeah, we're back with another episode, Lost Beat 6. We are again in the desert. It's like 107 during the day.
The trip
It's really awful.
The trip continues into Tempe.
Yeah, I guess it's better than Glendale. What
It's
are we
not
on?
hard to be.
What are we on? 14, 15?
15.
15. All right. So this week our guest is an old friend for a long time.
Yeah.
One of the original Arby's crew. I still have his receipt.
Can you provide the evidence?
I could
Did you bring it with you?
I should have, but it's actually still in my room.
When you go back to your room, send me a picture of
I
it,
will.
Please. I don't
It'll
even
be on the show
I also
notes.
have Mandel's receipt.
receipt.
Like,
you
guys
collected all our receipts,
both of
all our
you.
beef receipts.
Not Alex or Steve, because I knew like we'd be back again, but I didn't know if you or Mandel would be back. So I collected your receipts just because it was like a collectible item.
You took them?
I did. You didn't even notice.
I didn't.
No.
That's the sneakiest thing you've ever done.
They're pretty faded though. So I mean, like I could show you the picture, but it's like from 4 years ago.
How faded?
It's like really, really faded. I'll show you the picture. You'll tell me if you believe it's real. But anyway,
oh man.
our guest is Michael, an old friend and musician. How you doing, Michael?
Composer and visual artist, very talented artist.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Very kind.
Pay me later.
But I'm doing. You know how I'm doing.
I know how you're doing, but We want you to tell the audience how you're doing.
All three of them.
All seven.
All 100,000.
Just Jake and Alex Lipset.
Yeah.
Those guys don't listen to it.
They don't.
Jake, I don't even know if has been on the show, let alone heard it.
He's been on a Vault episode.
That's right. Yeah, that's true.
Aside from that, no, I don't know either.
Show.
Yeah, but anyway,
who's that other guy? Who's
Which other guy?
The podcast person?
Oh, that guy. Yeah, he's not here tonight. But
Who's in the podcast? Who's the crew?
The crew is
besides you.
It's usually me and Steve.
Yeah, it's Punish Steve, the DRE.
Yeah, we're the team mainly, but
and we're often complimented by Corey C-Dub.
Yeah, we got a couple regulars, but we're still working on.
I haven't seen Corey in such a long time.
Oh, Corey would love to see you.
Oh man, yeah, it's been a very long time.
Corey always, or maybe not as much recently, but he used to tell me like your Facebook interactions, and I was like, oh, Michael's still going hard.
Oh, yeah, we've shared some good ones.
Yeah, you guys seem to be brothers in arms in a couple ways.
Yeah, I wish I could recall an example right now.
A lot of them were like several years ago.
I know, but I there's definitely some from this year too.
Oh, I'm glad you're keeping in contact with C-Dub.
And the other recurring character is Adversary.
Adversary, yes. He's not here to scream when we hit record,
yes.
So that's nice. But Adversary is.
You may have to do that for us, Michael.
I think we don't have to ask him. He'll do that later.
Yeah, probably will.
Basically, we're here in Arizona, and we are glad to have you on the show. We're interested in you promoting your own artwork, your own music, your own network, if you want to. If you don't want to, we understand, because we've had several people that are not comfortable with our brand.
They refuse. They must a solemn no.
Yeah, it's happened several times.
They're in fear of.
They don't want to seal the deal.
Yeah, no, they're in fear of the unemployment. I'm not sure why. I don't think there's anything that we could say that could cause anybody to be.
I think there is.
I don't think so. I think the show's clean as a whistle.
If you want,
this show is not edgy.
If you
at
clean
all
your
there.
whistles, you'll get it right.
Exactly.
If you steal the deals, you're sold.
The Lost
you
Beat
steal
6
the
is a
deals, you
foe.
make it real.
Yeah, if you
We're
sell
not.
at the
We're
casino,
not that edgy, guys.
Yeah.
We're
you
just
hit the
not.
jackpot.
Exactly. So let's roll the dice here, and let's plug your shit.
I wanted you to say let's begin bingo, but you didn't say it. You said plug in your shit. That's so crass. Expect someone to rhyme and they don't.
Well, earlier Steve seemed to be like really hesitant to say like let's plug your shit, so I just wanted to say that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Let's play. Yeah.
Well, why don't you say let's play bingo? I just want someone to say it.
Let's play bingo. So, Michael, we've been really impressed with your visual endeavors lately. You were showing us some of your print work you've been working on.
Yes.
You mind just kind of leading us with what your influences are in that regard, and what inspires you to create such work?
In process, or why I decided to do print art?
Well, let's start with the visual part. So why are you doing this?
Okay. I feel that recently, I think what motivated me was, I told you earlier, every summer here, especially since
In lovely Tempe.
being in college and just being stuck in Glendale, I would just keep
years.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't do anything at all. I didn't find myself doing stuff productive. I found it very impossible because being in Glendale, the only thing that's close to me is West Campus, and then everything else that matters is so far.
Arby's.
All the fast food, because Glendale is just filled
We'll
with
get
fast
to
food.
Arby's in Glendale later, but continue. Sorry.
But this summer, I think the reason why I started doing more things was just because I graduated. I kind of realized, after spending 2 whole semesters focusing my conception of what I want to do thematically, what do I want to show and tell with artwork. And I'm graduated now, so it's like, okay, after doing that, making my final projects, I wanted to actually demonstrate and continue making work, being consistent, because I built all this momentum last semester. And of course, okay,
Right.
I'm on a roll. I don't want to ruin that or anything. Like it feels great to be working on stuff every day. And now I'm actually in that habit of making stuff. I don't put it off. I don't like to put it off. It feels necessary for me to be working in different mediums, regardless of my ability in one thing or another. Like I would definitely say
Right.
that, yeah, I've had more experience with music and recording
For sure.
projects, but with visual art, like I learned how to make prints this summer. Most of July I learned how to do that properly and how to
I mean, it looked really nice.
Yeah.
I will say earlier today when we took a look at it, I was impressed. I think you've definitely made a lot of progress in that, at least from an untrained eye. You know, I'm obviously not like a visual artist, but it looked good to me.
Thank you. No, I'm really happy how much my prints have been actually impressing people.
Like,
Or like
I like the
taking
black
meaning
and
in it.
white. I like the texture. I like the the contrast of what you're doing. I think it. We didn't listen to the whole tape yesterday,
Yeah.
but I think it seems to fit with what you're going for.
Yeah, I want it to be consistent.
Did you draw that after you recorded the piece?
Performance. Right?
Yeah. I drew it way later after that because
Okay.
that performance was in May. It was May 3rd and 4th. We did 2 performances for that art show.
Okay.
And we recorded the second one. Yeah, just like 2 different devices, one closer to the amp, one more recording the space. So
Okay.
through that recording, as I was saying to you yesterday,
Right.
you hear the sound of my installation, but yeah, you also hear the performance, obviously, and they're both integrated. They're not separated from each other.
Right.
And I want to think about everything I do in that way, even though with the prints, they are visual art, but I want to work with them, with what I do in the future. For example, like one thing that has interested me recently, because I'm selling the prints online, I have
Okay.
a web store, but one of the first people I shipped a print to, they sent me a picture of it. And they're like, "Oh, I don't know what happened, dude. It got messed up." And he sent me a picture of it, like a part of it, like a huge chunk just ripped out of it.
Oh my god.
And
Oh, no.
yeah. And to be honest, I was a bit bummed out about it, but not so much.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you had no control over that.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing you can do about it. It's
No, that's
messed
just
up.
a
But
plebe ass shipping company fucking it up.
well, yeah, it's like USPS, any shipping company, shit happens. Like they're not.
These
gonna
are
put-
all original prints, right? They're not copies or.
Well, they are
Oh, okay,
copies. Yeah,
okay.
it's an edition of 6.
Oh, okay, cool.
I have the original drawings in my room.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I made everything in July. It took me 2 days to finish all the drawings, and there's 7 of them.
Do you want to say the name of the performance, so we
Of-
all know what we're talking about?
Okay,
here?
the performance, the tape,
The name of the piece. You know.
the tape, or the series of artworks. Or
Well,
both.
probably the. I mean, you can go ahead and do both.
The one that we're referring to, the performance in May.
Okay, yeah, sorry, we went on a tangent a bit. The performance, the name of the show was Fixed, or The Perpetuation of Habit, because thematically all our work came from anxiety
Okay.
and disorder and obsession. So we wanted to, make it about that.
Okay.
And so quickly going back to the thing with the prints, it's
sure.
like,
I just want to get the name out there. just
Yeah.
So we're all
yeah.
on the same
In the
page.
performance, I for the recording, I named it Fixed, or Improvisation for the
Right.
Perpetuation of Habit. And with the print, I asked for it back from the person I sent it to because it's damaged. I might as well have it back, and I sent him another one, and that one I taped up way more than needed. And yeah, like he got it fine. So, but I haven't gotten it back yet. I might get it back on Tuesday or Wednesday, but I'm actually really eager to have the damaged copy back, because I was kind of hoping that what I had visually in there, because the whole series, and the series is called Rebirth as Such a Delusion Towards, I'm forgetting the name right now. Oh my God.
I'm very seamless when I edit.
Is it like?
You know, Steve.
That's gonna stay in there.
He edits real hard and makes every one of our guests
No,
sound like an idiot.
I've edited vocal audio. No, I know how like seamless you can make it. I'm just being
He's being facetious. Yeah, I got it.
So what's the goddamn name of the series of our
Rebirth.
You named it, didn't you?
I did. I'm missing a word. It's
no one's gonna take you seriously anymore. If you can't remember this on our podcast.
I know.
It reaches everyone.
The name of the series is Rebirth as Such an Amusement Towards Delusion. And why I named it that.
What does that mean?
Well, yeah, what does that mean? I named it that because, as I said to you before, all my process is driven unconsciously or as unconsciously as I can allow so or not allow so.
And is that intentional?
Yes.
And why do you think that's important?
I think it's important to have unconscious or process left a chance.
Okay. Do you think that's more important than the conscious part?
No. Well, to me, I don't think.
What do you think the relationship
You're
is?
asking questions too quickly.
I am.
You are. You're like, what do you want from me?
No,
You just want to get. You want to spill the proof. You want to spill
I want to
the
see.
things. You
I want
wanna
to
see
see
the
the
genes.
dank shit that you're trying to provide here.
You want to see the genes.
I want to see what you want to say.
Okay. All right. So
I feel like you want to say some shit.
let me put it this way. I feel that you can't necessarily control everything, and you kind of have to be fine with that. I feel like there are things
I agree.
that you experience and observe that you appreciate, but you wouldn't otherwise have had those epiphanies, have had those experiences if they weren't left to some chance element clicking in there, some unconscious decision you've made to be there.
Okay.
Whatever scenario you may be in, because I think of a lot of this as scenarios you're put in, like me drawing this during the summer and then deciding to draw this stuff during the summer and make a print out of it. That was a scenario I was put in. I was in the scenario of just recently graduating.
Right.
And as I said,
do you think of artworks you've done, the scenario is very important?
Absolutely. Like, to me, it's context and scenario. Yeah, like that is a major factor that plays into anything. And that idea of things being the peculiar order or disorder that goes back to, it's like, yeah, uncontrolled things, controlled aspects, chance.
Okay.
And I feel like
have you felt like that for a long time?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, absolutely. Like, I would honestly say since, in a determined manner, since high school. In a determined manner. Like, ever since I felt creative inspiration before early childhood. Or since early childhood, I mean.
Right.
But, I feel like art that is too controlled isn't being so honest,
Now,
I think that might be true.
Yeah. When you were talking about earlier, you were mentioning sort of limitations within school. In the school system. Would you consider... We were discussing sort of limitations within being a student and having work, almost creativity thrust upon you instead of...
Yes. Yeah. I mean, when you're a student, there's a lot of things you're focusing on, and that's not always necessarily... Not for everyone. Some people, yes, some people no. Doing what it is doing what you're doing in school outside of school.
Right.
And in my major, when I was going there, the students who graduated before me and then concurrently...
And this is at Arizona State University.
Yeah, and at the West Campus, my program, Interdisciplinary Arts and Performance. There were a lot of students who were not... I can tell, and they when it got brought up in conversation, they would let me know that they're not making creative work concurrently in school. And it's like, that's understandable when, of course, a lot of students are working. They have jobs, you know, they might even have 2 jobs. So it's like they don't even have the time for it. But a lot of people, they'll just tell themselves, regardless of what they're doing or not doing, they don't have the time for it. And it's a mindset. That's the limitation, though. It's always a mindset. I mean, when I did creative work, not as much as I am now, I would say, as far as the momentum is going. As I was saying, again, with the summer, it's like I would, with the summers before, I've just like left myself with nothing.
The neat life has its advantages. We all know that.
Oh yeah, I mean, but
sorry.
Yeah, that lost me a bit.
Well, yes, you are making progress now. That doesn't necessarily mean that such and such should have happened or something.
Okay, but it's like as a student, you'll make excuses for why you aren't doing things outside of school.
Oh yeah.
Or why you even aren't doing things in school. You know, like this year for my major, there were the most senior projects in one semester than there have been since I first started going to Arizona State University. And a part of that is like, oh great, there's so many people graduating this year, and there's so many projects. I want to see everyone's project. I want to see the development of my peers.
Right.
It was, like, so much of the projects were shit, you know, like you could tell like like very little time was put into them. And it's like being in the media lab and like being in the environments where I would hear students talking to each other, they always say the same shit. So it's like, oh, like I didn't have time for it. And it's like I spent half of the semester not working on my project, but the other half being very consistent and dedicated to it. It's like, yeah, I was sick for the first month. Second month, I worked that entire month outside of school. And then, yeah, the second or the last 2 months, I was dedicated. And since I built that momentum, you know, I feel like identifying yourself as an artist has a lot to do with the consistency of your work or the consistency of your lifestyle. So, and the whole delusion part of the thematic and the title, it comes from, you know, my mom, and you know, you can relate to this too, Stephen. It's like any creative job always has skepticism to it.
Right.
You know, it's like you're not going to do that full time, right? It's just a hobby, you know. Because they don't know better. They don't know there's work involved in that. They don't know what goes into it.
Right.
And they don't know that there's a demand for it either, for any kind of
I think that's a big part of
creative or technical creative work.
I have to say my parents have been very supportive, but they do want some sort of steady income.
Yeah,
to support it.
And you also know it
You know.
from other adults too.
Right.
Other adults who ask you, like, what do you do?
Yeah.
What'd you go to school for? The Uber drivers even tell you.
Right.
Or ask you, you know,
Yeah.
like,
Which is why they're Uber drivers to degrees. They're in the same position that you and I might be in.
yeah.
It's like trying to be like entrepreneurial creatives.
Yeah, like that chump guy.
Rob Chubb.
Rub Chubb.
Rub Chub Dub with his portable patented
Chub.
studio.
Voting for Trump.
Is chump. Yeah. What a chump. So that was kind of delusion part. Me going through, me being dedicated to my passion.
Right.
As being this towards delusion that I'm going to, yeah. But in the rebirth is me thinking of myself as I'm going through a different metamorphosis. For the longest time, I
always thought that you were on that path already.
Well,
I never
that's-
thought that you would have this realization recently.
Well, that's what I was saying. For the longest time, I always kind of felt like if you're the kind of person who divides their life into different stages, I always still thought that until earlier this year, I was still in the same stage since either first moving to Arizona or since junior year of high school. I kind of, for a very long time, thought of myself, junior year in high school, I started creating an interest for the arts, you know,
Right.
and being autodidactic. But
and the thing that really pushed you to this stage now was it just like a purely mental thing, or was it to do with like your productivity now that you graduated? Or what really put you over the edge of like transitioning?
I think all of the above, because it is a lot of self-reflection,
right?
And it is a lot of building discipline, and for me, I built a lot of that from working with my professors, being in school,
right,
learning,
being in the local scene as well, and your peers.
Yeah, I think I definitely think that being a part of a community and finding a community here, and finding that community by doing my own thing,
right,
really reinforced a lot of things in my life. It validated my existence, I felt, to be honest. So
yeah, it's not easy to find either.
Yeah, for me, I feel like, I am in a new stage of my life. I have been for a while, but this is now the beginning of a newer stage.
Well, yeah, compared to the Jack in the Box chicken tender story you told me a couple years ago.
What remind me?
We were at the church gig in 2011, our second gig.
This is the van we were all a part of. This is the Mr. Lone Makes
Yeah, I remember I remember being on that hilltop, and we were looking down upon all the people and all the other bands.
That got me pumped.
And you gave me a story of when you realized that something was really wrong with what you were, not necessarily what you were doing, but just in general. Is like when you realize that like these like chickens died for nothing other than
I remember now. Okay, I remember. Okay, yeah, I feel okay.
That story hit me quite well at the time.
Okay, so for that, it was because I think a lot of middle school life was very much the same every day, same thing almost every single day.
Right.
Very mediocre and mundane. Not a whole lot of complexity.
Sure.
Or disorder. I mean, I would say, yeah, we my brother and I ate like a lot of fast food during that time.
Particularly Jack in the Box.
Because that was my dad's favorite. 2 tacos and Diet Coke. 2 tacos for 99 cents. You know, they pumped that shit up to $2 now. It's like $1.99. So you can't say the
Great.
same.
No, I can't eat it. Awesome. This is great. Good news.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jack in the Box.
Man.
I know.
All right.
So now you
let's
can
not
go
get sidetracked here.
Yeah. So yeah, that the whole crumb story was just being
the crumbs. That was the important part.
Because if you have the same stuff all the time, you get tired of it. You don't finish it all. So and you're a shitty kid in middle school, and you're nauseated, and you have to carpool 40 minutes to and from school in the morning and in the afternoon. So and at night or whatever, and you're just in the back seat of some van, and you're like with your hoodie, your oversized hoodie with the Jack in the Box chicken crumbs on that inevitably get on the hoodie and stuff. I wish I knew what I said exactly, because it was kind of a sad adolescent existential state of being.
There was a couple stories around that time 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think
that stuck with me.
I definitely feel like when I made those realizations, it definitely like when I first moved out here, I think I began being more conscious of what I ate too. I don't eat fast food.
I mean, I'm not going to try to talk shit
to.
here, but I think you've gone really hard in the opposite direction of what you used to do, and I
think it's working.
Sure. I think it's working too.
I think it's too. Not that it wasn't working before, but it seems to. I don't know, that discipline in that you were describing earlier of productivity and just keep doing stuff.
Yeah, like to me, it's eating better is no different than making work. Like it's like it's all the same. It's hard for me not to see a lot of the things as not essentially the same, because it's all lifestyle. It's all the way you live your life every day. So that's how I want to think about what I do and how I do what I do.
Right.
And a lot of that is limited in your experience, because everyone has limits in their experiences. And I do want to reflect on that. And I feel like you can't reflect on that without, certain processes, integrating certain processes and procedures, those being, left the chance or the unconscious,
Right.
those that are controlled as well. And I like combining all of them. It's hard for me to be someone who makes very totalized work, like everything has to be totally controlled or not,
Well, I will say, in at least my experience, the harder you try to control the environment, the more you realize that you can't.
Yeah.
And I think you seem to have realized that a lot the more I've known you.
Yeah.
Your tastes have gone more in that direction, and your art has gone more in that direction of, utilizing the uncontrollable.
Yeah. And I feel like that's not only important, but I think it's always relevant.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
We were looking at your portfolio there, and I noticed a little bit of. It was the first thing I saw, like word association. First thing that came to mind was kind of like a Ralph Steadman chaotic vibe. Is that is that something you get a lot, or is that something that? Are you aware of that, or is that something that just kind of comes consciously?
I think I got that. I really think I got that once before, but they didn't use his name. I'm actually very unfamiliar with him or his artwork, but I literally got one time. Your art, it reminds me of the artwork for Fear and Loathing, the Hunter S. Thompson. Yeah, like it's like
Stedman's the shit.
So I have gone that once before, and then I've gone visually. I've gone comparisons to Moreau or Clay or just kind of automatic drawing. So I guess it's all working. I mean, I'm fine with the comparisons.
What would you, if you had to describe?
Hey, you better be. Sorry.
If you had to describe your style, we won't go into influences.
2 words or less.
2 words or less. You make that's a tricky.
Your style in 2 words or less.
Oh man.
7 syllables or less. 12 vowels. That's what you get.
Eloquent,
Consonants.
ugly.
I like it.
Okay.
That's good.
I think I can deal with that. Just kidding. I'm gonna need a better response, Michael.
Okay, if you wanted a one-word response, I would just say contrast, or I would say paradox. I don't know. It's something
interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Okay. I can think about it like that for sure. Yeah. If I had to reduce it to single words.
All right. I like that.
Halftime, fap time.
All
We'll
right.
take a quick commercial break.
New Amsterdam is complemented by chunky foods like sun-baked Greek yogurt. So head on down to the store and buy some Chobani to get the most out of your vodka experience. New Amsterdam, it's your town. Just beef that shit up, motherfucker. Hey, yeah, get fucking wasted on this cheap-ass shit, you fucking slut. What's the difference between a fuckboy and a dank boy? It's the amount of beef coursing through their arteries. Don't act like you don't want a little sip of this shit, or act like you got something better to do than post anonymously on your sassy little board with your faggy-ass friends. I don't get paid. I'm suffering. Just take a whiff of this shit, you Colonel Custer fuck. I'm gonna snipe your ass right off this garbage planet. You feel that? It's the pleasure of your berries being dunked into pure ethanol. You belong to me. I belong to New Amsterdam. What does that mean? You do the math, Pythagoras. If you can still hear me, you clearly need another drink, you Captain Crunch motherfucker.
According to the Surgeon General, women should not drink alcoholic beverages during pregnancy because of the risk of birth defects. Consumption of alcoholic beverages impairs your ability to drive a car or operate machinery and cause health problems. Exercise your right to party. Please drink responsibly.
So we've gone on for a good amount.
Yeah,
and we've got a.
He walked in on us. We haven't even got to the good shit.
All right, Michael is back. So, Michael, we have a couple questions that we like to ask our guests as a regular thing. So, now that we're wrapping up, I would like to ask you a couple questions. And I've got 5 here. So, question 1, what is your biggest failure?
Biggest failure?
Yes, that you'd like to share on the podcast. You know, if you have something you don't want to say, that's completely fine. I doubt anyone's ever told us that.
Biggest failure. I might. All right. First thing that comes to mind, I would definitely say my shyness. I would say my biggest failure is not something that happened to me. It's a consistency. And I would say that even though I definitely feel like there's...
So that doesn't seem like that right now. You seem to have built quite a nice network.
That I feel like being active in a community has nothing to do with shyness, really. I feel like shyness...
I feel like many people would disagree with you, but...
I mean, I don't feel like it's reduced to that, because I feel like shyness has a lot to do with, I keep saying this, as I said earlier, with like actualizing things. Being shy of being honest about yourself to people can extend to the artwork you make, and then in social situations. I think in a lot of social situations, like I virtue silence and not being, like my brother, like talking way too much, because I do feel like in social situations that is obnoxious. It's so fucking obnoxious when people are going on about very banal things, but just to keep a conversation going. It's just for the sake of that, and you can tell that's what makes conversations awkward. And
it can. Yes.
It can. It very much can. Not always, but
a lot of conversations I've observed have been completely banal in every regard. So I'm not going to say that. Like,
you're not going to say which one is doing that. Yeah.
But being overly, that can have negative
to
effects.
me. I guess me saying that kind of shows that, okay, I do have a fear of me doing that,
right?
Even though I don't think I'm as capable of that as said example, my brother.
Right. I think that's been proven true, and is not just a suspicion, but continue.
Yeah. Oh man, if my brother hears this podcast,
I mean, we're gonna get him on the podcast.
We'll have him on.
Have him on.
We're gonna have the first beef session.
I mean, there really hasn't been any.
I'm gonna beef real hard on him.
Okay, and then you better have him beef on me, even though he probably won't have anything.
No, there's. We're going to be talking about VNs.
Sorry, probably knows it, and it's just like, it's true.
Okay.
James, if you're listening, and I know you're not, I'm playing a Higurashi, and I'm almost done. I'm going to get to Umineko next, and man, we're going to have a real good talk. And then after that, when Truman comes back from Saipan, we're going to have an even bigger talk. But anyway, it's not related to you, Michael.
Yeah, I can imagine his face turning really red and him being like, as he hears that, because that's the kind of thing he does. Because to him, I know him. It's kind of psychological trauma when it comes to VNs. Good.
I want to enforce that trauma and make it worse.
Going back to the topic, I would say shyness is, and overcoming shyness is.
So your biggest failure and your biggest success.
It's
overcoming.
I think it's your
biggest challenge.
I think for me, it's my biggest failure because I learned so much from it. I feel like with shyness, when I reflect and I see, wow, I was shy about that. I didn't go through with that. Like, for example, when I do a performance and I like restraint in performance, and I feel like that's important. But when there's something,
did you ever feel like that with our band, or was that more of a later thing?
I definitely felt that way with my band. I feel like in our experience,
we don't need to mention
together,
the band, but
because what I was about to say was, like when you're in a band, of course, every band member wants to contribute something, but it's very easy to shy out of that. It's very easy to tell yourself, we don't need to do this, even though it's something you really want to do.
Right.
I feel that way about when you have an opportunity to meet new people, when you have an opportunity to maintain friendships, and when you perform. Like the example I was going to provide was when I improvise and I want to utilize only sounds and only noises. I don't want to do something musical. When I think about that decision as I'm performing and I don't follow through with it, even when I felt like that was needed in a certain performative context, I feel like, I cheated myself. I shied out of what would have been really interesting in that scenario.
Right.
And would have been evocative. But
That does sound frustrating.
Yeah, and
Most of my regrets were not necessarily related to the performances itself, but I know the anxieties and the what ifs, but
it's
I think
when,
it's a little bit different for myself for what you're talking about, but I kind of understand what you're getting at.
well, it's all ego blockage. It's all ego blocking the desire, I would say.
I think that's probably a big part, but I don't think it's all of it. But
I think you can say that. Yeah,
I think that's a larger discussion than we're going for, because we have a series of questions. So I don't want to extend the podcast by 30 minutes. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah, the condense it's why autonomous process, or not autonomous, automatic unconscious process is important, because when you let yourself go like that, when you let loose of control, you don't make those decisions where they make you suffer.
Okay.
Even though it can incidentally lead to some suffering. But.
No, I like that answer a lot. So next, we have a question about what you're currently experiencing. We have 2 questions about that. And the first one is 4 different questions. You don't need to answer all 4, but they're all bunched together.
Okay.
The question is, what are you reading, listening to, watching, and playing? So you can respond to that however you want. If one's more important than the other and you want to talk about that more than the other 3, or 2 more than the other 2, whatever. But reading, listening, watching, and playing.
I think it's easier for me to list the first 2, because I've been doing more of the first 2 recently.
I was going to guess that. So.
Yeah, I haven't been watching too many things. Like between playing things and watching things.
We would like to hear what you're playing, but if reading and listening to is more important, then we'd like to hear that more.
Before I get into that quickly, watching and playing has been very much I would like to get back to that, because I feel myself not doing it enough, and I've been craving it.
Well, that's good.
But I am in the midst of all these other things.
If reading and listening to are more important, then we want to hear what is at the core of those 4 things.
Yeah, reading. I've been reading a lot of symbolist and proto-surrealist kind of stuff. Like,
how would you describe that to our listeners that have maybe not read that kind of material?
Well, I think better to...
Because
better than to describe those terms, I would say I've been reading a lot of text on evil or evil books. I've been reading the famous evil books, which would be Charles Baudelaire, Flowers of Evil. Okay. And all those poems. Flowers of Evil, and then Songs of Maldoror by Lautréamont.
What's driven you to read those? Was it by chance, or
no?
Something that's driven you to?
Very led down a path, Yeah,
I'm curious.
It's funny because definitely Maldoror was a book that Alex messaged me one day and said, "You should read Maldoror."
A member of that band.
But I was already ahead of him.
Oh, nice.
I was already. I already have it in one of my notebooks. I would be doing myself a self. It would be bad for me not to read Maldoror, even though that book is. Like it warns you, you shouldn't read it because it's too evil. But
I think
and
I
you know
know
Alex's
what you
obsession
mean.
with evil,
right? But I kind of want you to at least describe it in basic terms of why that book is evil, or why these books you're reading are evil. Because it's
the thing that makes those books interesting, those texts interesting. Flowers of Evil is a collection of poems, but they right. all and then Maldoror is essentially like a prose work too, and it's divided into several chapters. Sure. Each chapter and each poem is kind of a scenario, and they're very suggestive and they're very descriptive, and within the scenarios that both these texts have, they provide this setting or description that's very suggestive of enacting evil or enacting certain things that
like
maybe
traditionally like Christian moral evil, or is it a little bit deeper?
Well, yeah, they definitely question morality. You know, they will definitely,
because when most people
Yeah.
think of evil, they think of
sin.
sin.
Well, yeah, like
At least for probably our American listeners, which would be all of our listeners. But
I mean, Christian morality is prevalent in
in the
America.
West, that's
Yeah.
usually what we think of as evil, is know the sins.
Yeah, then I would definitely say that it grinds against general morality. I can't
Grinds
think,
against, does it, or is it challenge it? Or?
challenge it. Same
Okay.
thing.
If you want to move on, listening to is
But
next. Or if
I
you
think
like
the one thing I want to finish off about saying with Maldor and Flowers of Evil, the events and the things that are described or taken place in these texts, because of their suggestive nature and the pictures they create, it does make evil, and it does, like, since it has this kind of question of morality, like what is actually evil,
right.
it is they are both texts that share in common a relationship between evil and freedom and living a certain lifestyle. This other book I've been reading, or I started reading, Visions of Excess by George Bataille. But Bataille argues that you can't have good literature without evil. Good, like bad literature literature that is good is like more moralistic, is boring,
Right.
Like in terms of morality.
I think I agree with that.
Yeah, and he talks about Lautréamont and Baudelaire,
So are these influences like kind of 1800s, 1900s?
yeah, it's symbolism. Like people like Mallarmé or Baudelaire, they wrote in the mid to late 1800s. They were
European authors.
Yeah, they're both of them were French. Lautréamont was French.
That sounds about right.
But I mean, like Baudelaire was influenced by people like Edgar Allan Poe.
Okay.
And stuff. I like people like that. And then Bataille is a contemporary of the surrealists. So
has this literature influenced your art at all, or is it just kind of you're still processing it?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's, to me, that's what I like about it. I mean, I've been reading Flowers of Evil, certain poems of it, for a very long time, for a couple of years now. I've been just reading all his poems now, versus a small selection of it.
Works.
And Lautréamont Maldor that's more of a newer thing. I discovered it this year by reading Guy Debord, and Guy Debord was one of the main proponents of Situationist International and other mid 20th century avant-garde movement that was was literary and artistic in its nature, and political, very political.
French.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, international, because it's like.
Where did it originate in?
No, well, I don't want to talk about Situationist International for like a large portion of our podcast, but like it's called Situationist International for a reason. Like a part of it stemmed from.
I had not heard of that phrase, so that,
like a huge chunk of it.
I did not know that was
derived from like Scandinavian and Northern European countries as well. So it's one of those things. It's very spread out.
Okay.
And kind of in certain ways still exists today. That like Guy Debord talks about Lautréamont. A lot of people like that in avant-garde thought and like literature talk about Lautréamont. Like the surrealists like Salvador Dali, André Breton were like very influenced by these like spontaneous evil acts and impulses and how they were
bunch
aesthetic.
Of fuckers. Bunch of goddamn big bastards.
But and listening
Sorry.
Yeah. Going to go. Yeah, there's kind of a moment of silence. Listening. I've been more all over the place with listening. I think I've kind of cut down on having an idea of like a list of things to listen to. I feel like that kind of tortured me for the longest time because I knew I used to be really adamant about that. I used to kind of feel like there's these essential albums in the world and I have to listen to every single one of them. To me, I feel like I should listen to what I want to listen to now. And I follow that a lot more. And I think I listen to more things because I do that. And
Do you have a particular style or genre or something you want to talk about what you're listening to right now that's influencing you?
I've been listening to a lot of my friends' music recently, and a lot of
supporting the scene in Tempe here.
Tempe, Los Angeles,
Camarillo.
Other places, Camarillo.
Yeah, it's a good scene there.
Rock City.
Rock City.
All hail Rock City. But
sorry, go on.
I love anything from punk rock to
Iggy Pop.
to not like Iggy Pop, but
Like the Ramones.
like hell no, but
Like, Green Day?
no CBGBs or pop punk, but
Like a Blink.
yeah, like Blink, yeah, like Blink.
Oh man,
but I mean like
Man.
all fringe.
that
kinda-
girl at the rock show. Man, that remix we heard last night from Blink.
Oh, I forgot that at the
Girl
rave.
at the rock show.
Yeah. We were at the rave with like 15 other people.
Yeah,
really
if
digging
that.
it.
Continue what you're listening to.
Anything from punk music to techno to
I mean that
abstract.
I believe you, but that
Composition,
doesn't really
performance.
mean anything.
That doesn't mean anything.
It's like is there like something you can like describe a little bit?
You're getting ahead of me. I already know what I'm going to tell you,
Okay.
and then you
Good.
You
Yeah, no,
but okay.
I'm getting a vague general answer, and I just kind of want to define it. And if you already know it, then go ahead and do it for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
Wonderful sound effect, by the way. I love that. Was great.
all right,
So good.
the cut to the chase. I've been all over the place, but my primary listening, if I had to pinpoint it, I've been listening to two specific composers recently. One being Elaine Radigue. She was a pioneer in
Modern?
mid 20th century, the present, in electronic drone music.
Western or Eastern?
Western,
Western,
but
okay.
with very many Eastern influences. Basically, all the original proponents of durational drone-based music, very much inspired by the East, specifically India and Nepal, Zen Buddhism.
Is it kind of spiritual music, or is that just kind of like a part of the influence?
Most of it is, but spiritual and not so religious of a way necessarily. Not always, but very. A lot of Elaine Radigue's music is inspired by memory, and is inspired by certain spiritual things. She has her most well-known piece is Trilogy de la Mort, Trilogy of the Dead, and it's based on the Tibetan Book of the Dead. The other composer I've been listening to a lot recently, and trying to find videos and reading material of is Henning Christensen,
Henning Christensen?
Yeah, Henning.
No, I think it's Hayden Christensen, the actor who played Anakin Skywalker in the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, he has a punk rock band called Star Electronics now.
Oh, nice.
And he doubles down on the guitar with a...
Oh, we played with him at Rock City, didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, back in 2011?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that was a really bad show.
Yeah, he played like a 20-minute bass solo.
That was fucking retarded.
Yeah. But and Henning Christensen was more of a conceptual, interdisciplinary artist, composer. A lot of his pieces involved a lot of things happening at once, like
like orchestral?
No, not at all. Or the ones I'm familiar with, not at all. A lot of it is considered musique concrète, where he'll have he's known for having field recordings of the seashore or birds and natural things within natural spaces. He would have performances in forests and things like that. And
What draws you to that?
to me, what draws me to the work of people like Henning Christensen, who were involved with Fluxus composers, they had this concept of integrating art into real life, and as I've been talking about this entire podcast, like lifestyle and like art in life. And Henning Christensen, his focus was in nature, but he has this in his.
Is he like a naturalist, or was he big into? Did he incorporate a lot of elements of nature into his music, or did he just
in his work? Absolutely, like he's known for having having a painted ear green. He would have his ear painted green.
Ear green.
I said that really weirdly.
I mean, I know what you meant.
Sorry. Yeah, he was well known for his green ear. He had a ear.
Right.
His ear was painted green. And
I mean, did he explain why he did that?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Because
if you could enlighten us.
Oh man, this is so hard. Okay. It was just because how this is. Okay, let me restart.
All right, we'll build up to it.
Okay, so he's very well known for having a painted green ear.
Yes.
And he said something along the lines of his ear is painted green as a reminder of nature, and that we hear nature on a consistent basis.
Right.
And like and so
he worried that he would forget?
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
that's like a kind of like a thing we all know.
But it's not necessarily so obvious, you know? It's like in contemporary time and in industrious life, I think it's very easy to lose sight of things and activity you see every day. You know, he was very much a conservationalist.
Right.
And so, you know, as I said, he would do things like have performances in natural spaces and places you just wouldn't have performances. A lot of his pieces would be.
Was that also to raise awareness about maybe, you know, conservation, or was it just his personal style that he wanted to do that there?
Oh, definitely both.
Okay.
Like aesthetically, for sure. Yeah. But I'm still figuring him out because he is like, there isn't so much written about him, not as much as I would like, not like with like John Cage. I mean that I feel like John Cage is another person I've been thinking about a lot though. I feel like I've gone in and out of so many artists since junior year of high school. Junior year high school, as I said, was the big thing in my life.
Right.
And the most consistent artist I've listened to since then has been John Cage. Every year since 2010 or 2009, consistently. I mean, and that's because I keep finding out new things about his work. I keep hearing it and listening to it in different ways. It keeps being reoriented to me just because of what it is. But
yeah, I've heard he was one of Schoenberg's students.
Yeah, and
I don't know a lot about John Cage, to be honest, but I do know that Schoenberg was saying that John Cage was one of his only students that he really thought actually knew anything about music.
Yeah, but and to John Cage's account, he said that Schoenberg
was a plebe and sucked balls.
No, he didn't.
I think that's what he said.
Yeah,
Schoenberg's the introductory to like the academic.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Me too.
Plebe ass cereal.
Yeah.
Plebe ass.
Plebe ass gay boys.
Second
album,
Viennese school.
Volume 2.
But
433 and 420, you know, back to back, like the A side and like B side, you know.
Fuck. I think that's the newest innovative.
Did he study under Schoenberg when Schoenberg was at UCLA?
I think so. Okay. Yeah. But what I wanted to say with because John Cage has been known to talk about Schoenberg and his writings and stuff, and I know he said something about how Schoenberg told him that he didn't know how to write harmony, so John Cage didn't try to. He stopped. I think that's how it went.
Something like that.
But
John Cage is your boy.
Yeah, no, for sure. Very much so. And composers like Henning Christensen are
Also inspired by John Cage, do you think?
I don't know if
Is that what you're getting at?
I wouldn't say inspired, but they're like John Cage, and they were contemporary of John Cage. John Cage was a part of Fluxus and this way of thinking about life and music and art.
We were considering debating whether we should reopen the question of what would be the end point of music.
The end point? There's no end point.
Yeah.
I was not considering that really. But I heard about the conversation.
Amplified cactus, I think, is as far as it went.
Nah.
But anyway, we're not gonna do that.
No.
We've got better questions to ask.
Yeah.
Like this next one. What are you eating, drinking, smoking, and jacking off to? Answer all what you would like.
Okay, I've been not eating Jack in the Box.
Me too, for the most part. But what have you been drinking?
Been drinking.
So 5 years ago.
Oh my god, you don't even let me.
I was gonna say.
Fucking lemonade, man. That lemonade from Trader Joe's is like in the, not the carn, but in the thing that is not the carn.
Yeah, that
I'm lost
thing.
for words. That
Is it a
lemonade's fucking good.
Is it a plastic gallon?
Yes, I don't know. I don't think it's a gallon. That's why I was trying to think. It's like
Probably a quart.
half a gallon or a quart. Yeah,
It's a quart.
It's a quart. That's okay. I was hesitant to say quart. That thing I said about shyness earlier. So
We're all seeing it now.
yeah. That lemonade is
Thank
good.
you.
I mean, okay, drinks.
Have you had any warm
Tea and
frothy
coffee.
beers yet?
I had a warm frothy beer at Casey Moore's a couple of weeks ago, and it made me feel really full, and I like kind of regretted it. But
Yeah,
that was not
beers
the
yeah.
first frothy beer I had this year. Not at all. But
Are you more of a beer guy?
not really. Like usually, that was the first beer I bought myself.
Well,
You more of a liquor guy?
In my limited experience, yes.
Do you prefer whiskey or tequila?
I have never actually had tequila, so I would have to say whiskey.
Okay.
what kind of coffees and teas do you enjoy?
Coffees and teas and Louise. All right, you please. Sorry, that was my first impulse to say something.
All right, what are you smoking right now?
Wait, I'm not smoking anything. I haven't taken up smoking yet. But with the teas and the wheeze, it's not impressive. It's just a lot of green tea. I guess the most impressive thing is prickly pear tea, iced tea is pretty good.
Like that desert blush.
Is there like a bean roast that you prefer, like South American or African or Indonesian, Jamaican?
I haven't been as conscious of my coffee intake recently, so I
Take what you can get.
I don't know how answer that, but I mean, it's like, okay, I go to Cartel way too often because it's right next to my house. But
they're cold brew.
Yeah, they do have a selection of like different kinds of teas from the world, as you said, and not teas, coffees, or coffee. And I've definitely had like basically one of each thing on that menu, but it's hard for me to say right now.
All right.
I definitely prefer a light roast, but that's because I'm not good at drinking coffee.
I guess I would say it's an ultimatum for me. I either as bitter as you can get or very sweet.
You prefer darker
and fruity. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like either super sweet or super bitter. Yeah.
Very cool.
That's kind of how I feel about most tastes.
Fair enough. And lastly, jacking off to. Cleared the first
So
three.
what are you getting off on?
It doesn't necessarily have to be jacking off to. It can also be like fingering yourself to or rubbing yourself to. It doesn't. I don't.
All forms of
I
titillation.
don't mean to like say it has to involve your penis, but
Oh man, you're talking about
Usually
my
it
parts
does.
now.
Yeah, I'm getting to the real
good stuff.
Yeah, no, what we were all
These are the
here
tasty
for.
treats.
Yeah, no,
Sweet or bitter.
This podcast isn't being uploaded. This is just a guys, so we can ask you about this.
The guys, this is the guys' time. It's time to eat.
Yeah, it's time to lick your ice cream here.
Oh fuck, dude! Now you're obligated. After this podcast, we're getting ice cream. We're going to go.
All right.
Yeah, you have to walk.
If you answer the question, I'll get the ice cream.
I'll lick the ice cream. The more abstract hentai is pretty cool.
All right, I can respect that answer. Are you a fan of X hentai, or as it's known, Sad Panda?
Sad Panda, what's that?
Yeah, I don't know either. So yeah, the alternative stuff is what you're into.
Oh yeah.
All right. Is there a particular kind of genre or genres or tags, as they know, or as they're called on the Sad Panda?
Oh man, I dude, you know more about this shit than I do. Like,
I actually don't really.
I mean, whatever you're saying, it's not. I don't know what the Sad Panda business is.
No, I don't either. I was just saying as like a frame of reference for our listeners that know more about it than I do.
Like, what do our listeners know that I don't know? Who is the Sad Panda?
I think it has something to do with some sort of website that you have to like change the URL to get to, but I'm not going to go into that.
Oh man, I mean, I have some research to do, I guess.
Yeah, no, I showed Alex how to change the URL. And he's been having a good time with it, but
now I'm informed. So I'm glad you asked this question. I mean, I'm not really sure if I can pinpoint what I'm most into, but
that's fine.
Like honestly, the Sad Panda thing, that I guess I could just answer it with like I have some work to do.
I don't know if that's enough to get me to go to the ice cream place, but we can move on.
Fuck. Oh.
So next question.
What if I told you I like just like straight up I got ice cream and I like that was my fix? I just like jack off the ice cream.
I feel like that'd be a cop out.
That'd be a fucking cop out.
If it was a better story, you could use ice cream.
Okay, what if I told you I wrote manga? I learned how the authentically draw manga to the best of my ability, and I made like ice cream themed like manga where it's like ice cream hentai and there's like ice cream girls.
I would say that's good, and that's a good start, but I would need a little bit more, and you would know that because you drew it. So I'd have to hear it.
So I have to talk about like the juiciness of it.
Not necessarily like the juiciness, but like where it's going, and like how the girls are reacting or the guys. I'm not gonna discriminate here.
What if I told you it was lusty and decadent and involved several different flavors?
You know, it would sound like a Carl's Jr. ice cream sandwich.
But that doesn't involve several different flavors. That involves one cookie, like one Oreo cookie flavor.
You know, I think we're at a dead end here, so I'm going to move on to the next question. All right.
Stab from the past, Oreo cookie ice cream sandwich. Holy shit.
Oh, okay, you know what? I want you to go at ice cream to me, so I'll make it brief. Furries are sick.
I appreciate that.
Are you going to get ice cream with me now?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
That's what I need to hear. Who would you like to have on the podcast? Because I know you're an avid listener. Is there anyone you'd like to recommend to be on the show? Is there a friend of yours or an artist that you think would, like to promote their work, or a friend of yours that you think would be entertaining?
I want you guys to do a show where you start doing an introduction, and then you introduce the guest, and they have a name and everything. It could be literally any name you think of. And then you start asking them questions, and then you start asking them more questions, and you start like going on tangents where you're both having conversations with each other. And it's like a 2 to 3 hour interview. And
we can do that.
And then before this person says anything, you just say, well, that's it, folks. that's our podcast. It's like, please, like thank our special guests. And then that's, so I guess like you already answered it. I would just want you guys to interview yourselves with just anyone.
I actually like that idea, Steve. I think when we have a week where we don't have a guest, we can just
make
quote have a guest and then do the podcast with our guest. and ask them questions.
Oh, you know what? All right, what? One more thing that I request. One more thing that I request. I'm gonna take back what I said about the furry thing, and it's not furries. I'll be specific. All right, Guadavar.
Oh, excellent. You know,
Does it keep your ice cream promise?
it does. I will go into that more off the air, but
Okay.
I appreciate that.
You
probably thought I didn't remember because I didn't, but I was informed later.
In all honesty, it's all about Guadavar.
Good. I kind of want this ice cream now. So we have two last questions for you. They're kind of two sides of the same coin here. Who is your beefer of the week? Think about like beefing it, you know?
Steefer.
Steefer?
And Irker.
Steefer and Irker? All right. Now you can't list imaginary characters. They could be fictional characters.
These people are not fictional. They're you. They're you and they're you. I answered that question as good as the answer was.
I'm gonna need a commission, a piece of you depicting Steefer and Efer.
Irker.
Irker, yeah. Don't fuck it up, Steve.
I answered that question as good as the question was. So.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, we'll see how you answer the next one.
Okay.
Who's your queefer of the week?
Deefer.
Deefer. All right. So we got Steefer and Irker as the beefers of the week, and Deefer as the queefer of the week. I appreciate your creativity there.
There's nothing creative about it. It's what's essence.
It's subjective.
Essence. Core.
Who's Deefer?
I don't.
Who the fuck is Deefer?
You tell me.
I don't think that's how this works here.
See, you're both laughing, and you're both out of control.
Yeah,
those are answers we've never heard before, but we should completely.
Well, maybe that's what deeper
Michael.
is. That's what I'm getting to.
We should have known better.
Yeah,
maybe you should have begged to deeper.
Yeah. Well, I think we have our deefer of the week, and we're
a beef steefer.
Steve deefer of the week, and that's our biggest failure of this podcast, and it's time to wrap it up.
All right. Well, I want to thank you, Michael, for
not meefer.
going on, allowing us to enter your premises here in Tempe, and
Tiefer. Now you know how to name things. That's what you've gone out of this podcast. You've gone way more out of it.
And Tiefer, Arizona.
And we hope to...
Tiefer, Arizona. Be consistent.
Glenn Deefer, Era Beefer.
We'll hope to have you on soon when either come out our way. All right. That's it.
Let's get some ice cream.
Oh, man.